Well, hello and welcome back to the Rise and Grind podcast. I'm Dro, and we are recapping the last couple weeks. Our intention was to put something out about bi-weekly. I think we missed that by a week, but that's okay. We had a doubleheader to prepare for last week, and our intention was to get a podcast out, but there was a lot of details in bringing back the Queens of the Harbor, trying to revitalize and empty out what we've had kind of in storage for merch. Um, so a lot of stuff just took place. Couldn't do it. Here we are. You'll get one this week, and likely next week we'll be able to get one out. So I'm super excited for that. But right now, we'll recap. We on the men's side, we are currently sitting at 2-0 at home, but I believe, and I'm verifying it right now as I'm talking to you, that we are 4-0 on the season. We are 4-0 on the season, and I'll explain why. We've only played 2 games. So how are the Risers 4-0? Well, there was a team that was removed from the league. Originally, you would have saw our schedule come out, and it mentioned a team by the name of Indiana United. If you don't know who that was, just a team out of the greater Chicagoland area that was supposed to compete in the league. They were in the women's league, and stuff happened. Some rules weren't followed or deadlines weren't met. I don't know exactly. I didn't ask. I just, for our sake and our fans, always asked the question about how reliable a team like that would be. And what we ended up finding out was they weren't super reliable. And obviously, all the other league stuff that went down. So the MASL team went ahead and suspended him. And I believe it's an indefinite kind of a lifetime suspension, both from the men's and the women's side of things. And that's probably all I'll say about that. But thankfully, Kalamazoo United, a former M3 team, and hopefully a future M3 team, kind of stepped in to help fill the void of schedulings. But because of that, Kalamazoo United's only filling our home games. We don't have away games to Indiana United anymore, and Kalamazoo United can't host us this season. So, by way of that, the boys earned 2 forfeit wins, as did, I think, every other team in the conference. So, I believe Detroit Waza has 2 wins now, and Cincinnati Swerve is sitting at 4-0, just like your Muskegon Risers men's are. So, if we can get the job done, these next 2 games for our men's against Kalamazoo United here at home, that would sit us at 6-0, while our 2 away trips back to back to Detroit Waza there at the end of February, and I believe before those away trips, we would have a showdown here at Trinity Health Arena against Swerve, basically for the lone spot up top of the Great Lakes North in the M3. So we will play Swerve twice. We will go back down there and attempt to make that game that got snowed out after we made it down to Cincinnati at the end of November. We'll do that again in March. But that's just kind of a full table recap, maybe a little bit too much than what you wanted to hear, but that's what's going on. I'm super excited for this episode. We're going to get Cody Loss in for an interview, the one of the veterans that are left on the squad, and has kind of risen as a team leader this season and a little bit of last season. So I'm super excited for you guys to get to hear from him, get to know him a little bit better. I know I learned a little bit more about Cody in that interview, and so I'm super excited about that. Our women's returned last weekend. So Saturday, January 24th, our Queens of the Harbor returned after several year hiatus. It was so exciting to just the energy with the women's group coming back has been phenomenal, and it's not a knock on the men's, but there was just something different about the women's crew, and how everyone kind of just rallied around them. Maybe it was the hype that the team was back for the first time, and people were super excited about that. But the energy Saturday at Trinity Health was quite incredible. Um, for me personally, it was awesome seeing our women's group see the highlight film on the video board in the tunnel before they walked out. That was a surprise. I kept it from everyone, even the coaches didn't know that we were doing that. Um, so for us to go out there, put that video out, them seeing it for the first time right before they take the field, for me personally, that's just a memory that I think that's going to stick with me for a long, long time. And as they were walking, doing their player introductions out of the tunnel, just hearing how loud it was, and quite candidly, half of that loudness was probably the groups that came to support Jordan Stanberry because she must be a phenomenal coach because so many people reached out to us wanting to support Jordan. So Jordan, props to you. You're doing an amazing job, and all your kids love you. It was very apparent in the reach outs, and I couldn't say yes to everybody, so that was hard for me. Um, but superb job, Jordan. Um, the women finished with the 6-6 tie. Not ideal. I know I was, as everything was kind of shaken out throughout the week. It wasn't something that we considered for a tie as the game was going on, trying to figure out the tie rule. But also, when we do these double headers, we're a little constrained for timing in getting one game done. The next game started, warm ups going. So overtime just wasn't something we could do, and we weren't prepared for. Um, so all that to say, the exhibition season that we're running this year with the women's, we will end in ties. It is not ideal, but super start for our women's team. They showed really well. They showed areas of improvement from a scrimmage a couple weeks before, and as we kind of head to the next match versus Youngstown, who is another MASLW team that we will face, the goal is really just to show improvement. And there will be a rotating group of girls, being that we're not participating in the league this year. Everyone that came out, everyone that's been practicing, will see at least a game roster spot. I don't know how Coach Bogart's planning to break out that playing time, but everyone will be able to make a roster, get to experience the game, and then ideally next year when we're in the league, we'll kind of buckle down a little bit more on more performance based rostering. But this year we want to give everybody a shot that's been committed because I will say our women's group has been highly committed since November. So I'm super, super excited about that. This Saturday, they take on Youngstown, who was very familiar for a lot of reasons. Joey Brzezinski, a face that was around when the Risers started back in 2014 from the outdoor side, returns to Muskegon, this time on the opposing sideline, so to speak, but it's just a stone's throw away to the other bench. But Joey will come back. He coaches the Youngstown Nighthawks men's and women's team that they compete in the MASLW and the M3 on the men's side. So excited to have them back and take on an actual MASLW opponent. So super excited about that. But for now, we're going to be joined by Cody Loss. Get a little get to know you interview with Cody. We did this at practice with a new mic system, so I apologize. I'm going to try to edit it as best as I can. But if the audio is super junky, bear with us. We're still learning. And for now, Cody Loss.
Well, I've got Cody Loss here, the veteran around the Risers, and we're in a back office space here at practice, but we snuck away just a little bit just to get some questions in. But Cody, how's it going?
It's going, man. Going good. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So, how's the season going? I have some more questions for you, but in general, how's the season? Thoughts so far on things for you personally and team wise?
Yeah. Well, it was a slow start with getting the first game canceled, and then obviously traveling down to Cincinnati, getting there and having the refs kind of bail out on us. So then, getting another cancellation under our belt. So it felt like a month before we actually got to finally, kind of hop in and play our own game. So it's been exciting. First 2 home games, getting them underneath the belt. The group looks great. The guys look phenomenal. A lot of new faces out there, and just personally for myself, it's just good to get back out on the field and get another winter session underneath your belt.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And we've, like you said, it felt like it took forever to get a game in.
Yeah.
And now we finally get our games in, and it feels like they're all happening like back to back.
It's crazy.
And it seems like it's flying. But I believe this is year 10 for you. Is that
more or less?
Right?
I guess we should say. I mean, I've been around since the inception. Back when Matt founded it back in 2014. I wasn't per se on the team, but I was more so of like a practice player during the summer session and stuff like that. When Matt kind of founded the team, we had David Woods, a fellow friend of yours that personally. Joe Brzezinski was around at the time.
Yeah.
Mike Lee, a couple guys from South Africa and stuff like that. So I was kind of around for the inception of the league, more so just a practice player. It was a good way for me to kind of get my touches in going into my freshman year at Muskegon Community College. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to play because they had that professional title attached to the Muskegon Risers name. So it kind of pushed me out from playing, but I got a lot of good touches in the summer ball.
Are you a puffer guy?
I am a puffer guy. I am a puffer guy with Reese Puffer. I didn't grow up in Reese Puffer. I grew up actually in Orchard View. I went to Orchard View up until middle school, and then I transferred out, did the whole school of choice thing at Puffer though. So, but born and raised in Muskegon. So when did Arena start for the Risers? So, I got to ask this question tonight, and I'm like, that's a great question. So I can't remember the actual year, but the first game I remember attending, but I was not a part of. It was the kind of makeshift janky goals on the field. We didn't even have boards at the end of it. It was just, your little U9 goals on the field. If the ball went behind the back of the net, we kind of just called the play dead and stuff like that. And, we actually played a familiar foe of ours, with it being Waza and stuff like that. But that was, essentially the first year. I honestly couldn't tell you what year it was precisely. I wasn't really a part of it, but I've been a part of the program ever since. Like we actually started the Arena League, whether that was PASL, Independency, or going into the MASL 2-3 now. So
yeah, I remember being at that game and thinking, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then like a year or two later when they actually built out the goals.
It had to been. Yeah. And even at that, we didn't even built out because the first year when we went PSL, we had the wooden boards that kind of jetted off. So even taking a shot on goal wasn't really true to what you see nowadays with, the kind of the rounded boards and the inset goals. It was taking a shot off the board and it'd ricochet, 20 feet away the other way because the boards were kind of diagonal.
That's right.
Made it a little bit more difficult to kind of adjust
and
stuff like that. And the wooden frame goals, so we've come a long way, to say the least.
Yeah, I know it took some trial and error. I remember talking to Matt about it way back then when they were kind of trying to figure it out. But I had forgotten about the wood piece because that's right. That was version 1 of the indoor goals.
Yeah. Version 1, and it was fun to still play on. We still got to play in the arena and still get to play in the atmosphere. We just didn't have the proper setup. But I want to say the year after that, the city made the investment, took out a few rows of seats, and then kind of put the inside goals in. So it's been like that ever since.
And I'm sure the Port City guys will tear us apart for not knowing what year the arena stuff started. But by all means, guys, go ahead and let us know.
Sorry, Darby. Sorry, guys. I've been around this league long enough, so you kind of just lose your track of time.
Well, and I know, we started the Wanderers officially 2017 was when we started the Grand Rapids Wanderers, and it was a charity game for a year or two before we even did that. And I was doing the math. I'm like, the Risers were an arena team for probably a year or two before that.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I'm counting that first Waza game in my head as...
You probably are, but that, like I said, it was just a trial at that point in time, underneath Matt's direction, and it kind of just really blossomed into, kind of what we see today and stuff like that, under you guys' ownership and whatnot, so.
For sure. So now, I guess being, unofficially year 10, but I guess it could be more. You've been around the whole time. you're kind of in a position, and I know that I asked Coach Bogart if I could say this, but you're a team leader. So what's that been with that mindset? And maybe you have been longer than just now, but what's
I mean, even going into last year, Bogues leaned on me for a few things, leadership wise. I mean, we had the chance to kind of, even before the season started, got to sit down. We had a quick little lunch together and just kind of got his thoughts, kind of asked me. We kind of spitballed, between one another and stuff like that. So that was kind of, on his forefront. It was nice to see, him confiding in some of the guys that kind of have been around the team from time to time, with him being in quote unquote year one of his head coaching candidacy and stuff like that. So it's a little bit different now, as a leader, you probably see out there on the field and stuff like that. I'm not the huge hoorah talkative guy and stuff like that. I just kind of like to lead by example, put your head down, show up, and just kind of do it the right way and stuff like that. So you got other guys out there that will yell and scream and cheer and stuff like that. So, but I'm just not like that leader and that mindset. Not the huge yeller, huge talker and stuff like that. Like I said, it's just leading a lot by example and just kind of showing up and just kind of doing it the Riser way.
Has that been challenging for you to kind of, now you're that guy?
A little bit. It's a little, because, like you said, now year 10, year 11, whatever year it may be now and stuff like that, I am that person that has a lot of knowledge of the game and stuff like that. But, I was in the same shoes as some of these new kids and new guys that are here, today and stuff like that. I was in their shoes. I didn't know how to play the right way. I didn't know, strategically how to play the indoor game. So as, I've gotten older and as I've gotten more games underneath my belt, your mindset just kind of adapts, slower pace, a little bit more slower style of play and stuff like that. So then, just that leadership quality just comes from that.
Interesting point that you made there, that it took a while to adjust to the arena game. How long do you think you were playing before you felt like, okay, now it kind of comes natural a little bit?
No, I mean, probably within the past at least 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And I mean, I want to, like you said, we can't give a year on when we actually started playing and stuff like that. But say we started in 2017. I mean, I probably didn't feel comfortable with my game in the little nuances and just the playing the right way and stuff like that. And you get to kind of experience the way different teams play, like the Demon Hawks, for example, and stuff like that. A really quality team in M2 and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, they're at this level. We need to be at that level and stuff like that. So I would say probably within the past 2 or 3 years is kind of really where I've kind of got settled in and learned the game the right way.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I know, like we always talk about it when I say we, but Bogart, Armstrong, we talk about, what, when we're looking at guys or guys that we want to bring in and understanding that, hey, they might not get it this year, hopefully next year, but even then, this might be a play that we're trusting that guy in 3 to 4 years is a key piece.
100%.
And like you said, right now we have so many new faces coming in here, and it's tough seeing some of those guys, seeing the frustration because they may not be getting their minutes, the reps, whatever it may be. But it's just one of those that, hey, these 15 to 18 guys just are a little further along than you are, but that doesn't mean that you're not as skilled as they are either.
I mean, there's quality players out there right now kind of kicking the ball around and stuff like that as we sit back here and converse. But it takes time. It takes time for a lot of the guys. It's taken me many years, even individuals out there. I mean, even still to this day, I'm learning new things and stuff like that, new strategies, different things that coach wants to implement into our game play and our game style and stuff like that. We're constantly adapting. We're constantly learning. We're constantly, adjusting our philosophy and stuff like that. So you're never going to get it right on day one, and you're never going to get it right on day 100.
Yeah, and then that new coach comes in, and it doesn't matter because he wants to do it his way.
Exactly. So there's always changing philosophies and stuff like that. And, we've had a handful of head coaches, so I've gotten to kind of see all different kind of facets of play, between Ritzema and Vollmer and now Bogart and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and speaking of Vollmer, some people might be in for a surprise Saturday night because there may be a Vollmer appearance happening, but I guess I don't know if this will come out before the roster does, but maybe people know by the time that this comes out, but get ready to see a Vollmer in a Riser uniform again, which is kind of...
It's kind of fun. It's good to see and stuff like that because when I started playing, Vollmer was actually a defender at the time and stuff like that. So we go way back. I mean, we played on the same line together as a defender before he even made his transition to goalkeeping. So he was a field player before he went in the goalie.
Yeah. That's very
And now
interesting.
we're coming full circle with him coming back and stuff like that. I know he had a lot of things on his plate outside of the risers and stuff like that, just work and coaching out in Utah and stuff like that. So it's good to see him back on the west side of the state, back in a risers uniform.
Absolutely. I was shocked he agreed to come back, and I'm happy that he has been, because he kind of slotted in, and exactly what I thought he was going to bring to the group is what he's brought.
Just knowledge.
Knowledge and having somebody behind you that's barking out orders, but they're the right orders, and he knows where to be himself. So that's awesome. So being the veteran guy, and who knows how many years you have left, I'll put it that way. It could be 1 year, it could be multiple. Who knows? And the family and the wife got to agree for
100%.
for how many years. But what's kind of, as you kind of step into this veteran position, and now you're looking at, hey, I don't have 10 years in front of me now left playing. How do you look at what legacy you want to leave, so to speak, but also like what do you want to accomplish, or do you feel you already accomplished?
Well, I mean, the end goal is to eventually and evidently bring a championship back to Muskegon and stuff like that for the Rise and stuff like that. Whether that's M3, let's see come March and stuff like that. Granted, if and when we make the national tournament and stuff like that, I mean, it's going to be a whole new ball game. We're going to have to be ready come March. So that the legacy, that's one thing. Winning a championship and stuff like that. That's it. But I feel like I've already accomplished a lot. In my career and stuff like that. I have 3 kids now and stuff like that. So, really the legacy is just with them. I get to enjoy game days with my kids and stuff like that. My daughter Liliana, she's 7. I have a son Liam, he's 2. And then we just welcomed our newborn. She's about 4 months now and stuff like that. So I would hope I could get, at least a few more years underneath my belt so she can actually, be a part of the game day and at least witness and see what dad does outside of sleeping in the stands for 80% of the game and stuff like that. So, at the end of the day, honestly, I just do it for my kids and stuff like that, my kids and my family. I mean, that's the legacy I leave behind. If that's all I get to hang my hat on, I'm content with that and stuff like that.
And that's that veteran perspective too, to know, you got your family. That's the most important. And it was awesome. I think our first game, they kind of snuck down at the tunnel and asked, hey, can they get out there too? And I'm like, sure, why not? And it was awesome to see that, because it's cool to have your family be a part of it. And
100%.
Even on my end, and Bogart, Armstrong as well, our families show up, they're doing something. It's cool to experience that with them.
It's great and stuff like that. I mean, just having your kids there, and they get to look up at you. You get to enjoy something that you do, and they get to look up to their father and stuff like that. And it kind of just warms your heart and stuff like that, because they're proud of you and stuff like that. So it's really touching in a way and stuff like that. So it's just awesome that I get to enjoy that with my kids, and just not even my kids alone and stuff like that. Just the kind of the kids out in the community. They come in droves. I mean, our arena's always packed every night and stuff like that, and just get and see all the fans, all the kids out there. And I find it funny is, even from the outdoor to the indoor, like I said, been around for 10 years now, ever since the inception and stuff like that. When I used to work at Wesco, I'd have all these kids coming in and stuff like, oh, you play for the Rise, you play for the Rise. Cool. It was cool and stuff like that. So you kind of got, I don't want too much, kind of like a local legend almost per se in the community and stuff like that. So it's cool. But now, as I get a little bit older, I go into these Wescos now, that have a different career and stuff like that, and I see these kids and they're working behind the cash register, and they're like, hey, you're Cody, right? And you're like, yeah, you saw my ball 10 years ago when I was a kid and stuff like that. I'm like, but it makes me feel old. It's like, you're old enough to work now and stuff like that. I'm like, oh wow, I've been around the league that long, type of deal. So, but no, it's a full circle moment, man. I mean, like I said, the legacy, it's something. But I mean, I just want to be remembered for doing everything the right way and just kind of being that family guy and that that community staple around the league. So.
Yeah, and I think that answer is why Bogart trusts you to be more in a leadership position, and I've known him long enough that's kind of the type of person that he looks for. So heads up to any future players out there that's what Coach Bogart's looking for. But I mean, even the championship aspect of it, you have that perspective that it doesn't matter if we're M1, M2, or M3. The teams making the finals are ballers. It's not going to be handed to us, and we still got to go out there and earn it. And there's definitely a little bit of a vibe of guys anticipate that, hey, we're M3, we did really well in M2, and we're going to dominate in M3 now. And I don't think that's the case. Arena soccer is arena soccer.
No, there's
so.
some really good teams out in the league out there and stuff like that. And, you might be familiar with some of the faces. I got to give a little shout out to a couple buddies that I got out there at the Rock City Boom and stuff like that. They're putting
old
up,
Lancer.
some old Lancer friends
yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. So, there's a couple on the team that I still kind of converse with and I kind of chat with, and it's exciting. Mark Sotile, who's a part of that organization and stuff like that. I mean, he's been around the leagues for many, 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 many years and stuff like that. Just a great guy, and I actually kind of was chatting with him a little bit, and he's excited to kind of hopefully see us down in March and stuff like that. So I mean, like I said, there's good teams out in the league. We just haven't got to see them yet. So the competition only really goes up from here.
Yeah, 100%. It will only get tougher from here. So thankfully we're kind of dialing it in and figuring out who we need to slot where. But you're right. I mean, I think Rock City Boom is one of the other undefeated teams right now. We got the Swerve in our conference. Mm-hmm. There's OKC, Certified Lions is what they go by. They're down in the South region. That
RGB still is kind of pumping and kicking and stuff like that. So I mean, there's a lot of good quality teams down in those other conferences. So I mean,
it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, but we got to get there first.
Yeah, nothing's handed to us and stuff like that. So we're going to keep grinding. We're going to keep working. Obviously, next on the schedule, Kalamazoo United kind of filling in and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's still going to be a test, regardless of whom the opponent is and stuff like that. Still trying to get better each and every day. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Cody. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being okay with leaving practice a little bit early. Right. But
we'll see what Bogues has to say after this.
Yeah, we'll see. He's probably waiting right outside the door, wondering where the heck his player's going. But thank you so much for your time, and I guess we'll see you on the turf soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cody. Thanks so much for taking the time. I had to pull him out of practice to make that happen. So special shout out to Coach Bogart for letting me pull Cody out of practice. And like we mentioned, he's one of those team leaders. So it's not very easy to pull someone like that out of a practice and all of a sudden leave a hole for Coach Bogart to figure out what's going on. But thank you, Cody. Thank you, Coach. Super excited for what's to come. This Saturday, January 31st, we return for our second doubleheader of the season. We will do 3 of these this year, the last one being Valentine's Day, February 14th. So we're trying to hopefully cook up some special things for February 14th. We know that's going to be hard to convince your significant other that date night should be the Risers game. But we're going to make sure that we have some specials, some cool things happening. Heck, maybe any proposals. Anyone out there trying to pop the question? That'd be a killer way to celebrate on February 14th and cement the Muskegon Risers in your story. So if anyone's willing to do that, please reach out to me, hello@muskegonrisers.com. I would love to make that happen for you and help make your special day even better with over 1,000 other people joining you in on your story. So let us know. But January 31st, our women's take on Youngstown Nighthawks, 4 p.m. Our men's take on Kalamazoo United. Again, this was originally Indiana United. If you see that marketed anywhere, no, you're not confused. That changed on the fly, and we just didn't update everything, especially our print material. We just didn't have the time between now or when the decision was made and now. So Kalamazoo United for our men's at about 6:15. I know on the schedule it's going to say 6 o'clock, but we learned in the previous doubleheader that we need to buffer a little bit more time for warm-ups there and allowing the teams to get a little bit of a warm-up before we make them leave the field. So we're kind of preemptively moving that to 6:15 so we can start on time and get the game going. So it's been awesome. Tickets are still available. Suites are available for the 31st. Please get your group together. Come on out for a game. It's awesome. If you book a party deck or suite, you can also either book a bartender service by just reaching out to us. That is a little bit of a cost, but the concessions has people available for that as well. You can kind of book a catering service through Carlisle's, is kind of the in-arena vendor for concessions, suites, and all that good stuff. So please reach out if you're interested. Either way, they have people walking around as the game's going on to check in on you during the game at your suite and anything that you may need, especially if you want to drink some beverages. They would be the ones to unlock that for you. So thank you so much. That is it for now. We'll see you next time. Doubleheader this weekend. Get your tickets, muskegonrisers.com/tickets. Thank you. See you at the game.